Welcome to Graz, welcome to another edition here. Thank you for liking and subscribing to this channel. Please hit that like button. We're going to tell you a story. We're going to go back. This is a true crime story here. It's a fascinating story. Kind of a story that I kind of wish that I was a fly on the wall as to what was going on back then. The story of, in New York here, from Brooklyn, Caruso and Pendola families. So, two families that did not know each other at all, and their lives now are forever tangled. They're tangled. Story that at the time here in New York garnered national attention. Back then in 1927, there's no telephone communication. I can't dial when you have an emergency, so what do? You run to the store. You run to a neighbor's house. Run to get, whatever you may need. In this case, it was medicine for Joey Caruso, who was 6 years old at the time, and he was sick. So his father tried to remedy the situation with over-the-counter drugs. It didn't work. They didn't see really that it was helping. So he went back to the pharmacy, and the pharmacist got in contact with his brother, who was a physician. His name was Casper Pendola, who lived here in Maspeth, Queens. So we know poor Joey, obviously the sore throat, it kind of went further along, it kept on getting worse. So it eventually became so bad that the little Joey was laying on a cot in the kitchen. When the doctor came in, Dr. Pendola, he examined Joey and diagnosed him with a condition known as diphtheria. It's a bacterial disease that kind of ravages the upper respiratory system. So a prescription was written for 10,000 units of antitoxin to be injected, and then a second medicine to be given orally. The doctor filled both prescriptions at the Pendola pharmacy, then to return to the apartment where the doctor injected the antitoxin. Leaving the father to administer the oral medication, the doctor departed, promising to return the next morning. So during the night, unfortunately, Joey grew sicker and eventually became delirious. So much so that, unfortunately, even at one point during the night, based on testimony, little Joey stood up in bed and said, "Papa, I'm dying." So by the next morning, even though the doctor had promised that he would return, by the next morning, it was 10 o'clock already, the doctor had not returned. So Mr. Caruso raced back to the pharmacy and called for an ambulance. And he had returned home to find that his son had gone into convulsions and that his son had died. Now, his son, unfortunately, had died in his arms. and just imagine all the grief that the father was feeling. And it wasn't until noon that the doctors showed up, already not morning but noontime. And you could imagine just what the father was feeling. Hey, I'll be back in the morning. It's already noontime. He made a promise that he did not keep. Though it's really not a reason for, I think, overreacting. So according to Mr. Caruso's testimony in court, upon being informed of the child's death, he said that the doctor simply laughed, although, the Court of Appeals would later characterize the doctor's reaction as some twitching of the facial muscles that might have been mistaken for a smile. So, whatever happened at that point, whether it was a twitch, a smile, the father didn't take it as a smile, or he didn't take it as a twitch. He took it as a smile. So, it is at that point that the enraged father put his hands around the doctor's throat. He strangled him. When the doctor fell, Mr. Caruso pulled a butcher knife from a closet, stabbed him twice in the throat. So much so that he almost decapitated him. That's how brutal it was. First degree murder. Big story here in the New York area papers. Physician slain by crazed father as boy patient dies. New York Times headline. Crazed father confesses after capture. Daily News. National story. They said that he, they took note of his heritage, said lack of formal education. The articles described the defendant dull-eyed, expressionless, ignorant, broken English, raging giant. So this goes to trial, and they plead the case of temporary insanity. Was the defense, and the jury didn't buy this. They thought it was premeditated. So he was convicted of first-degree murder, automatic death sentence at that time. And automatic death penalty, taken out to that time Sing Sing Correctional Facility to await death row. And then the tide turned. The Italian-American societies, kind of friendship societies, stepped in. They got an appeal. Appeals for mercy. And it was a star-studded defense team now after they won their appeal. And this team started team of over with some of the nation's greatest attorneys at that time. They were all brought together. They alleged 14 trial errors, and they were able to avoid Caruso's conviction for first-degree murder, and they were able to order a new trial. And this is the grave of Dr. Casper Pendola. There's no markings, no birth, no death year, just the inscription of the family name. So the Caruso trial began 2 months after the appeals. Quick turnaround, way different result the second time around. He was now allowed to plead guilty to first-degree manslaughter, which is a lesser charge. Didn't help that the prosecutor also did about turnaround and said that he should be charged on first-degree, first-degree manslaughter as well. The judge then sentenced the defendant to serve a maximum of 20 years, and in the end, he only wound up serving 6 of those 20. This is a story that really rocked New York City, and I'm sure it rocked the nation. Just an amazing story. Coincidentally, the little boy that passed away, Joey, here too, is buried about a 10-minute walk in the same cemetery. So on the other end, though, man, obviously the father was, it's tough to put yourself in the shoes of what was going on during that time. Father's life turned upside down, and in the same regard, a doctor lost his life who had a young child as well.